The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Thank you for joining me here in FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. As you may remember, for the longest time, probably since the onset of the pandemic, we had the opportunity on a weekly basis to speak with the mayor of Fall River, Mayor Paul Coogan. We did take a little hiatus for the election season and then the holidays, but now that we're back into a new year, we're going to start things up again. And please be joined by Mayor Paul Coogan with us again this week. Mayor, how are you? Happy New Year.
Doing fine, Keith. How about you? Same to you.
Thank you. Doing well. I want to get into just a couple things that happened over the past few days. We had a couple of weather incidents. We're recording this on Wednesday, so we had that big rainstorm on Tuesday night with a lot of rain, a lot of water. Have you heard of any issues across the city out of the ordinary, flooding spots that we normally see?
No, I mean, I've heard about a few basements and obviously the traditional spots, but it seemed like it was a long duration storm. So I was watching the news this morning. West Warwick got 5 inches. I think we got more like 2.5. So it was much better than snow. As I tell everybody, we could have been in a real bad predicament. But it's rain. It's 50 degrees. It's January 10th, and that's a blessing.
Yeah. Now on Saturday, we did have a snow event. The city had issued a parking ban. And then early on in the storm, there really was a lot of rain here in Fall River. The ban was cut back, and then the city did see some snow. Did that impact at all any snow removal incidents on Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, it made it extremely difficult. I know on Facebook I've been called every name in the book. What happened was it was raining, so even salting or brining or any of those things would have been extremely difficult. We actually dodged the bullet on the first half of the storm. I said, "Oh, we're going to get out of this, okay." And then in the afternoon, it was raining, and all of a sudden it transitioned to heavy, wet snow, which every time you drove over it, it packed down on the roads. And it was a very difficult storm to unwind. I thought the guys did a good job. We didn't have a full complement up right away, but we got more guys out, and it got stronger and stronger during the day. And that's how you tackle a storm like that. But it was such a quick transition from rain to snow. It didn't really give you an opportunity to salt some of the hills and have things pre-done. So that's weather. And like I say, I always want to be able to predict the weather, but it doesn't really work that way because I watch all of the channels when the storm's coming, and I was hoping we skated, but we got caught in the second half.
Oh, if you could predict the weather, you'd probably have a different career. If you can predict it accurately, right? You'd probably have a different career from what you have now. And
plenty of people make money predicting weather, though, but I don't know what their accuracy rate is.
Well, you've got weatherman and mayors. A lot of both of them get criticized, constantly, right?
And it's the other thing. It's always great because and again, I've done it myself, but everybody's an expert in snow removal. Everybody knows what streets you do first and how you plow them and what you do and where you put the snow. And I do it myself. So I'm not really knocking them for it. I'm just saying that's how the world is. You just have an opinion because you've driven down streets that have been plowed.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about this next issue quite a bit, particularly during the winter in our conversations over the years. And I know Congressman Auchincloss was back in the city on Monday. He visited the overflow shelter at the Tomeo Center in the South End, and talks about, again, how the city has been handling the homeless issue. I know we've talked about this a lot. Just give us an update on how, you've got the street outreach team out there, how well they've been able to do during these early winter months in terms of getting people off the street and, into shelter wherever there's room.
Right. Again, what we've done with our street outreach team is we've built them we've bought a computer system called Chilada, which allows them to put in the date and time. They see these individuals, they have a conversation. Do they want to go into treatment? Are they looking for housing? Where's their family? So we have a note base that we're building up on every one of our homeless. And if they come into the system, we add them. And if they leave, we delete them or we transition them to a bookshelf. what we're trying to do is find out who these people are and how we can do a better job servicing them. And I think that was the point of the congressman's visit. As you know, the Tomeo Center runs a day program there too, where they can come down, get lunch, get a shower, do their laundry, talk to a job counselor. There are things we're trying to do to get these people lifted up out of their present conditions, and it is a struggle. And that Tomeo Center was funded. A big significant part of that was both homeless money and CARES money. So that was federal money that we were able to pour into there to create that place. I think the other night they had 20 people there on the overflow. So between the First Step In, which is our traditional housing place and has 50, and the overflow, we're servicing a good chunk of people. We try to do our best to take care of the homeless. The other day, we had a family member that was they wanted to go back to Georgia. He was originally from Georgia. He somehow got left behind in Fall River, was living on the streets. We talked to his daughter. She was in Georgia. She would take him in, and we got the guy a ticket to go back to Georgia. We'll do whatever we can to help him. We want to get them. We tried it last summer. We're going to probably try to expand it this summer with a street cleanup program to try to get the guys working and make a little bit of spending money. We do more in trying to get them into treatment, and those are the things we're going to focus on. It is a nationwide problem. People have to understand that this is not a Fall River problem. It's a nationwide problem. We just have our piece of it, and we try to do our best to help those people.
You know, one of the discussions with the congressman, and you mentioned it, that there's a lot of federal money that's been helping supplement this. And I believe the congressman said in a story that was in the Herald News that, you know, going forward, there may be less of that because of right now control of the House is under the Republicans. Are you fearful that as the city may not be able to continue some of this if there's not continued resources coming in from either the state or federal level?
Absolutely. Today, one of our vendors is meeting with Senator Rodrigues to talk about the state contribution to our homeless population. So we're trying to make sure we can fund it to try to keep people getting the services they need. This is a very, very challenging population, and between the state and the federal government and the city of Fall River, we're trying to do our best to, keep people safe, warm, fed, and housed. But you have to understand, you're dealing with people that have a lot of dual diagnosis between mental health and addiction, and it goes on and on and on. Throw in a good dose of loneliness and anxiety, and you're dealing with a very challenging population. And we have some great, great people in the field, whether it's the Tomeo Center, the First Step In, or the outreach team, working with these people to try to better their lot.
Yeah. Is there still an issue, even though we're in the winter months, with some encampments? Have those been dealt with?
Yeah, well, we still have encampments. Some people just will not come in, Keith. That's why we have our program set up so that if Keith's out doing outreach today in one of the camps and he runs across Paul, he logs it into the computer. And if Paul said, gee, I'm thinking about getting into treatment. So we see him again on Friday, and Nikki sees him and says, how are you making out? He goes, I saw you were thinking about treatment when you talked to Keith. We want to get you in. I'm ready to go. And we'll get him into treatment. The other day, we had a young lady that was in need of a ID because she couldn't get into treatment without her ID. And when she was out, she lost it. So we ended up going back to the school. She was a former student, and we got a copy of her life card for her, and which had a date of birth on it, which had her picture from when she was a teenager, and that was sufficient to get her in. So we'll do anything we can to get people the right ID to get into the right spot for them and try to help them along.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, this week, when we always start a new year, a lot of people will have resolutions. Most people do not follow through on the resolutions. Do you try to set goals every year? And if you do, what are some of the goals as you begin now your third term as mayor here in Fall River?
Yeah, obviously, it's set goals. They're the same goals that most city mayors have. We want to improve the streets, improve the parks, improve the schools, work on public safety, and all the pieces that come together to try to improve those things are what you do all year, working with the city council. They had their first meeting last night. we have a number of things we're going to work on. I was with Danny Aguirre yesterday going over streets. We have some new initiatives down on the waterfront we're looking at the city pier. We just were meeting with Sam in the back. We had a very, very successful Christmas parade. We had a very, very successful Christmas concert, but those are in the rearview mirror. And now we're thinking of some things we can do for the summer to make living in Fall River a little better for all of our residents, whether it's a seafood festival, a concert, a craft fair. Those are things we're thinking of to try to draw people in. And obviously, we've had great success with the food trucks. So we'll see how it plays out. But we're already planning. It's January, and we're already planning for when the weather breaks. So if people bear with us, we'll get through.
And of course, as we move along, you'll have to consider what needs to be done with the Route 79 stretch. And I know that's still a couple of years away, but I know that's definitely on your radar. Absolutely, right?
Definitely coming, Keith. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Mayor Coogan, as always, thank you for your time. We're glad we're able to do this again, and we'll talk again next week if all goes well.
Anytime, Keith. Thank you.
All right. And thank you for joining us here on FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great rest of your week.